All right, and ready. Prologue. I was 16 when my wagging caught up to me. It started when I stayed home to ensure my mother didn't drive while she was under the influence of her illness, but I continued to forge her signature long after she recovered. I ended up in my high school counsellor's office. Mum has nervous breakdowns, I told Miss Meadowcroft. She frowned. What does she suffer from? What do you mean? Mum called it slomjivatsa in Bosnian, which translated to nervous breakdown in English. That's what she and everyone I knew called it, and that's what I'd grown up telling people. Miss Meadowcroft asked me what happened when Mum got sick. I explained how she got insomnia and cleaned the walls with bleach until her hands were pruned and wrinkled, that she went on shopping sprees at Copper Art and emptied out our bank account. The way she physically emptied out. Okay, so we just need to insert. Let me see if I know how to do that. I think we'll just stick with emptied our bank account because emptied out doesn't really add anything. All right. So, okay, yep, so you play it back. Okay. That she went on shopping sprees at Copper Art and emptied our bank account. The way she physically transformed, with her green eyes glowing as if she were drug-affected, and her speech slurring as if her tongue were too thick in her mouth. The delusions that spewed from her lips. That she was going to speak to the President of the United States and stop wars. Or that she was training to race an Olympic champion. Miss Meadowcroft nodded as I spoke. I explained that there was no logic to Mum getting sick. She got sick when she was taking her medication. Sometimes she got sick when she didn't. She got sick when she was stressed, and she got sick when she wasn't. The one thing that was a constant was the complete shock I felt every time. It seemed as if her illness transformed her overnight from a caring mother to a self-involved woman who was unaware of anyone else. Miss Meadowcroft's questions made me think. I went home that night and asked Mum what her illness was called. Nervous breakdown. What causes it? The doctors told me that there was a chemical... Nervous breakdown. Bring it down. Okay. Nervous breakdown. What causes it? The doctors told me that there was a chemical imbalance in the brain. The doctors told me that there was a chemical imbalance in the brain. I was bewildered. This was the first time I'd thought of her illness as something that could be controlled. When I returned the next time to talk to Miss Meadowcroft, she had a surprise for me. I did some research about your mum. She handed me some sheets of paper that were photocopied pages from a book. Does this sound like your mum's illness? I took the sheets and began reading. The sheets were about manic depression and described it as an illness that was characterized by manic highs and depressive lows. When the person was suffering from mania, they engaged in impetuous and reckless behaviour. Okay. Yep. I might actually take this top off. I think I'm getting warm now. Yeah, that's fine. I'll get this whole thing. We'll see if my phone lives. Sorry, where were we up to again? Remind me. When the person... Does this sound like your mum? Oh, when the person... Depressive lows. Okay. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Let me just drink. some water to push it down. Okay. All right, so depressive lows. Okay. When the person was suffering from mania, they engaged in impetuous and reckless behaviour, including spending money, being sexual, and losing inhibitions. When they suffered from lows, they would struggle to get out of bed and became suicidal. Become suicidal, thank you. Okay. When they suffered from lows, they would struggle to get out of bed and become suicidal. More recently, the illness has become known as bipolar disorder. As I read, I felt a shock thrumming through my system. I didn't know it at the time, but this moment would change my life. "This is my mum," I gasped. There was a pattern to my mother's illness. It wasn't something that just happened, but instead there were signs that until this point I had been ignorant about. I went home with the pieces of paper. "Mum, I think you have manic depression." Mum looked at me with curiosity. "Some doctors said I have schizophrenia. Some said manic depression. This is all about you." I handed her the pieces of paper. She took them from me and read. "This is what you have, isn't it?" I asked. Mum nodded. "Why did you call it nervous breakdown?" "That's what we called it at home." My mother's homeland was Bosnia, once called Yugoslavia, which used to be under communist rule. Mental illness was stigmatized and shameful. Okay, let's go back. This had shaped her view of her illness as an affliction and a curse. Her rudimentary English also made it difficult for her to engage in the medical jargon surrounding her illness. After this, everything changed. It was like a veil had been ripped away from my eyes. I stopped seeing Mum's illness as an entity that had no logic. Having the correct label meant understanding that Mum had no control when she was under the influence of her illness. Until then, I had judged her and found her wanting. As a mother, a wife, a human being, I realised I couldn't judge Mum for her failings. She was a victim of her own brain chemistry. Okay. She was a victim of her own brain chemistry, and as her daughter, my role was to accept and love her for who she was, not who I wanted her to be. This is our story. The prologue is done.